This topic is primarily about me. That's why Fred is here at the background, gonna be my supporter.
I'll be the caring. And you'll be the cutting rod. Okay, you'll be the cash, I'll be the rubber band.
Okay, cool. To hold the money, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got to a point I didn't want to get married, but not because I wasn't ready or I was forced by Fred to get married, but it was because I never had a role model growing up, and I never had that perfect picture of how a marriage should be, so I was very, very afraid. Moreover, I heard a lot of stories, then it ended up in toxic and then fights and then broke up and a whole lot. So that stories also scare me to get married, to be honest. Until I met you. Yeah.
Until you met me?
Until I met my husband. I remember when we first met, I told him about me being afraid of getting married. And I remember setting boundaries. I said, I'm gonna get married when I'm 30. I don't know why I said that, but I really said it. And funny enough, we were in a relationship for 7 years.
This is a typical example of a person who said, when I grow up, I'll be a pilot.
and then become
the
a
rest
baker.
become a history.
Yes, so I met my husband. He was from a very great, perfect family. He had that example of how a marriage is supposed to be. And I think, or if I remember, we used to talk about marriage. And it was so beautiful because where I am coming from...
You can speak Deutsch.
Und es war so schön.
Okay, continue.
Because from my side of the family, as I said, I never had this perfect marriage where I was looking like, you know, up to.
But, like, if you say in your family, like, your parents, your...
Yeah, there was never this marriage where I could look up to and be like, oh wow, when I grow up, I want to become like this couple. Or this and this and this is what I want to take.
So I think, yeah...
for my marriage.
I understand that fear that actually almost took over from your quest or your ambition to have a partner, but you can create yours. Even though, yeah, like you could have make up your mind that I'm gonna create mine and build that positive mentality. However, like
I did, and this, you know, like whatever I went through in my childhood, I always say that I don't want to have my kids growing up the same way I grew up. So like things I went through in my childhood, I want to do it differently with my kids in the near future when we have kids. And it's the same thing with the marriage. Like there were so many things that I used to say that, okay, when I get married, I don't want to do this and this and that. I want to do it this and this and that way. So I met you, and then it's like you open my eye. It's like it was just beautiful. It was just different. It was like, oh, okay, so there is this perfect marriage, but as you said, you have to create it your own self.
There could be a perfect marriage, but it's not perfect, but a marriage that you can use as an example, yeah.
Exactly.
Because there's no perfect marriage, remember? Right.
We needed to send the man away because he was talking too much, yes. So I think at the age of 22 or 23, I don't really remember, Fred proposed to me, and I said yes to his proposal. I said yes because I was in love with him, but at the same time there was this fear behind, and I wasn't really ready to get married at that young age because I didn't really know what marriage was about, the responsibility of becoming a wife, and the responsibility of becoming a mother or taking care of a home or a man. So I just made up my mind, I'm not getting married. Yes, I have said yes to his proposal, but I'm still gonna wait until I was sure and was secured and was fixed and was exactly. until I was sure that yes, I want to get married. And then I was like, yeah, we can now get married. I really thank God for giving me my husband, who had so much patience all over the years to wait for me to also be ready and also to understand the responsibility of becoming a wife before we got married. So we started planning everything. We decided on having our perfect marriage. And I remember when we first met, I told him in the near future, when I get married or when we get married, I would like to have a wedding planner. And that's exactly what we did. He knew it from the beginning. So yeah, when we were ready to get married, we went in for a wedding planner. Everything started, everything was perfect, everything was nice, set. But then we got to Ghana, guys, and there were a lot of stress from my side of the family. And I remember saying that I don't want to marry anymore. I wanted to call off the wedding, yes. I wanted to call off the wedding, not because I wasn't ready to get married, but because there was too much pressure. Like, everyone was trying to tell me what I'm supposed to do, what I should do it this way and that way, and I wasn't able to do it the way I wanted to have, like, my perfect wedding. So I was like, you know what, I don't want to get married anymore, and if I don't get married, no one can come and tell me do it this way or do it that way. And that was one of the reasons why I said I don't want to get married. So I remember, I think a week before, no, some days before we got married, I don't really remember, guys. It was some days before we got married. I was like, okay, cool, I don't want to get married anymore. So I think I called Fred and I spoke to him that day. I think it was even on my birthday. I was so sad on that day. I was crying. I was just not in a good mood. I told Fred, you know what, baby, I don't want to get married anymore. Let's call off the wedding. And then he was like, we cannot call off the wedding. Have you forgotten the promises you made to your own self, the perfect wedding you wanted to have? It just left with few days for us to get married. So when he said it, I think some way, somehow, I thought about it again, but I still wasn't convinced enough. Then he called my cousin, or my cousin was around when the whole thing started. I don't even remember. We were in Kumasi at that time. And I remember I was alone with Fred, and my cousin called me that evening. And she was like, listen to me. Have you forgotten what you said? The perfect wedding you wanted to have? And then she was like, you know what, Barbara? Whenever you are sad or whenever you can't take a decision, you pray. You give yourself a bit time, pray, and then like you take that decision. Why don't you do that again this time around? So my cousin was like, I should pray, give myself a bit more time, and then I can take the decision. Moreover, at that moment, I may be honest, I wanted to call off the wedding because of the stress my family was giving me, not because I wasn't ready for the wedding on that day. So I was thinking, okay, when I call off the wedding, like, no one is gonna benefit. I'm not gonna benefit, no one is gonna benefit from it, no one is gonna say I should do it this way or that way. So then, like, that will be it. So then I said, okay, let's call off the wedding and do a court wedding. So a court wedding, you will just need only the, what do we call it?
Witnesses.
Exactly, you need only the witnesses, sign the papers, and that is also a wedding. But there wouldn't be any party where you're gonna organize with the family and friends. So that was the main reason why I said let's call off the wedding. And so after my cousin spoke to me, I think I still cried. I spoke to Fred about it. I gave myself some time, and I think 2 days later, or I don't know, it was during that day, or I don't really remember. But then I was like, yeah, the wedding will take place and it's gonna happen. We got married. And to be honest, after we were married, I was thinking, oh, I was really waiting for all the stories people used to tell me about marriage. I was thinking, you go home and they start with the fight, like that wedding night or whatever. But nothing happened on the wedding day. We went home, we slept, and then the next day, I woke up. It wasn't even like it wasn't something different. I was like, oh, I'm a wife now, like I can call myself a different name. That was different, but I still had my Fred. I'm up to date. I may be honest, it took me weeks or months to say this is my husband, because we were dating for so long that like I used to say my boyfriend. And I remember I was at work one day and I was telling a story. I don't even remember. I said something and then they were like, but I thought you said you're married. You just said your boyfriend. I'm like, no, like I mean my husband. So it took me years, and it was the same with me.
How long have you been married? It took you years.
Sorry, it took me months. Weeks, months. It took me weeks, months to say my husband. And it was the same with the wedding or me being ready to get married. So my advice, personal advice or opinion, better says it's opinion, when you meet someone and that person is putting pressure on you getting married, it doesn't matter how much you love the person, give yourself that time that you need to be ready to get married. Because guys, getting married is not something you do today and then tomorrow you can stand up and be like, I don't want it anymore. It's a lifetime thing. You're gonna be with that person until you die, because you'll be promised that person that you're gonna be with the person until you die, and you have to keep your promise and your commitment towards that person. So when you meet someone and that person is not ready for a marriage, give yourself that time, or give that person the time to be ready. Because sometimes it's not about the person not being ready. Sometimes the issue is something completely different than what you think. Sometimes it's not about the marriage, it's about that person. Sometimes it's not about the person, sometimes it's about the family, sometimes it's about the pressure from society, wherever. So give yourself the time to be ready to get married, and give yourself the time to know what marriage is about, like what is expecting you. And that's why it was very, very, very important for the both of us to go to marriage counseling before getting married. So yeah, that's something I wanted to share with you guys. See you in another video. Bye.
Not bye yet. You started together, so I have to also come and say bye.
Okay, bye.